She was more than a singer, she was a phenomenon. From Beijing to Hong Kong, Faye Wong carved a path unlike any other, breaking away from Cantopop's formulas and becoming one of Asia's most enigmatic icons. Her ethereal voice and fearless style brought her global acclaim. But her story was never just about music. Marriages, divorces, controversies, and an unshakable devotion to her own independence turned her life into a saga that fascinated millions. Behind the glamour was a woman who refused to be controlled. Stay tuned as Criminal Tracks uncovers the rise, scandals, and untold truths of Faye Wong. Faye Wong was born in Beijing in 1969 into a family that balanced practicality with artistry. Her father worked as a mining engineer, while her mother was a soprano singer. That combination gave her both stability and a clear sense of what performance could be. From an early age, she absorbed the discipline of her father and the creativity of her mother, carrying both into the music that would later define her. She grew up in a time when China was opening itself to new ideas, and as a teenager, she found herself fascinated by Western music and the way it could bend rules without apology. That sense of defiance became a thread in her own life. By the late 1980s, Faye moved to Hong Kong, determined to carve a career in music. At first, she went by the name Shirley Wong, a stage name chosen to suit the Cantopop market, which demanded polished stars who conformed to a certain image. She sang soft ballads and followed the formulas expected of rising female singers. Yet beneath that surface, Faye felt a growing discomfort. The glossy persona did not reflect who she was, and she longed to break out of the mold. She made the decision to drop the Shirley Wong name and perform as Faye Wong, reclaiming her own identity. That shift was subtle yet powerful, marking the beginning of her reputation as a woman who lived on her own terms. Through the early 1990s, she rose rapidly, gaining recognition for her voice that was both fragile and ethereal, yet able to carry emotional power. She began experimenting with styles that were unusual for Cantopop, weaving in influences from rock and alternative pop. Listeners who were used to predictable romantic ballads suddenly encountered something different. She sounded modern, mysterious, and independent. This helped her stand apart in a crowded field. The album Random Thoughts, released in 1994, showed a bolder direction and won praise for its willingness to break conventions. At the same time, her fame spread beyond Hong Kong. The same year, she starred in Wong Kar-wai's Chungking Express, a film that brought her to international attention. The movie presented her not just as a singer, but as a figure who represented a cool and detached version of modern Hong Kong. Global critics praised her understated performance, and she became known in the West as well. This exposure placed her in a rare category of Chinese stars who had both regional and international reach. She continued to experiment musically, and while many admired her bold choices, some industry insiders criticized her for being too unconventional. Yet Faye was never concerned with pleasing everyone. She preferred to create work that satisfied her own instincts. Her personal life during these years was also in the spotlight. In 1996, she married Do Wei, a well-known rocker and member of the band Black Panther. Their relationship fascinated the media because it brought together two very different worlds, her ethereal pop image and his underground rock reputation. The following year, their daughter Leah was born, and for a short while, it looked like she might settle into a quieter domestic life. But the marriage was turbulent. Do Wei's rebellious lifestyle clashed with her rising stardom, and rumors of infidelity circulated in tabloids. By 1999, the marriage ended in divorce. Faye gained custody of her daughter, and in a move that showed both independence and generosity, she waived child support. That decision reinforced her public image as a woman who wanted control of her own life and did not wish to be tied down by negotiations. Even as her music career soared, controversies began to surround her. One moment that drew wide attention came when paparazzi photographed her casually using a community toilet. For ordinary people, it was nothing unusual, but for someone already viewed as a glamorous diva, the image shocked many. Some interpreted it as her disregard for public image, while others admired her refusal to play by celebrity rules. This small incident became symbolic of her approach to fame. She never hid her humanity and never performed just to please the cameras. By the end of the 1990s, Faye Wong had achieved something few Chinese entertainers managed. She was not only a top-selling Cantopop artist, but also someone with credibility in artistic circles. Guinness World Records listed her as the best-selling Cantopop female artist, with nearly 10 million albums sold. She had proven that an artist could both succeed commercially and stay true to an unconventional style. Still, behind the acclaim, there were difficulties. Her aloofness toward the press made her a target for criticism. Journalists often described her as cold or distant, accusing her of lacking the warmth expected of celebrities. Yet fans were drawn to precisely that quality. To them, she was mysterious and unapproachable, which made her stand out even more. Her journey through the first 3 decades of her life was marked by both triumph and turbulence. She had risen from an ordinary upbringing in Beijing to become a household name across Asia, all while challenging the rigid expectations of the entertainment industry. She endured divorce, unrelenting media pressure, and scrutiny of her personal choices, yet her music and unique character kept her at the center of attention. By 1999, she had already become a legend in her own right, one whose career would continue to evolve in ways few could predict. As the new millennium began, Faye Wong stood at the top of her career, but she was not content to remain confined to the formulas that had brought her success. In the early 2000s, her work began to reflect deeper explorations of her own beliefs and inner world. While her voice continued to captivate audiences across Asia, she started integrating her spiritual leanings into her music. Faye had embraced Buddhism years earlier, but it was now woven more clearly into her artistic choices. She released songs inspired by Buddhist philosophy and openly aligned herself with temples and religious projects. Fans admired her sincerity, but critics accused her of promoting superstition. Some commentators mocked her publicly, saying a figure as influential as she was should not spread beliefs that were not grounded in science. Others admired her bravery in refusing to separate her personal convictions from her public art. In 2001, she made headlines again when she donated a staggering amount of money to support the building of what would become the world's largest Maitreya Buddha statue. The donation was reported to be in the hundreds of millions of Hong Kong dollars, and while it drew admiration from spiritual circles, skeptics blasted her as reckless and wasteful. Questions were raised about whether celebrities should be using their wealth for grand symbolic gestures instead of practical social welfare. Still, Faye never explained herself in detail. Her silence, as always, kept her wrapped in mystery. She was a superstar who seemed both present and absent, always visible but never fully understood. During this period, she continued to hold concerts that filled stadiums across China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. Her live performances were a mix of elegance and eccentricity. She often appeared aloof on stage, avoiding excessive interaction with the crowd. Yet, fans were transfixed by the purity of her voice and the unpredictability of her set lists. Some critics labeled her as cold, but her supporters insisted she was one of the few singers who treated her audience not as customers to be entertained, but as partners in experiencing music. This approach only strengthened her reputation as an artist, rather than just another pop star. Her personal life, however, once again pulled her into the media spotlight. In 2005, she married actor-turned-businessman Li Yaping. The wedding caught the attention of the entire Chinese-speaking world. Many believed Li, with his calm demeanor and traditional family values, would provide the stability that Faye's earlier marriage lacked. Their union appeared to symbolize a fresh chapter in her life, one where she could balance her artistry with a secure home. Soon after, she gave birth to their daughter, Li Yan, known affectionately as Lila. When it was revealed that the child was born with a cleft lip, the news shocked the public. In a society where perfection was often demanded of celebrity families, many wondered how Faye would react. Instead of hiding the condition, she and Li Yapeng embraced openness. Together, they founded the Smile Angel Foundation, dedicated to helping children born with cleft lips and palates. The charity provided medical assistance and financial aid for countless families across China. This act of turning personal hardship into philanthropy won them admiration far beyond the entertainment world. It was a rare moment where Faye allowed the public to see her vulnerability, and it transformed into strength. For many fans, this period represented her most human and relatable phase. She was no longer just a distant diva. She was a mother who faced challenges and sought to change lives because of it. Despite their seemingly perfect partnership, cracks began to appear in her marriage with Li Yapeng. The couple had different lifestyles and values. Li enjoyed engaging with the public and presenting himself as a man of the people, while Faye remained intensely private and reluctant to perform the expected duties of a celebrity wife. Media outlets began reporting rumors of disagreements, and every public appearance they made together was analyzed for signs of strain. Li's growing involvement in business ventures and his attempts to shape a public image as a philanthropist occasionally clashed with Faye's desire for solitude and detachment from publicity. By 2010, speculation about their marriage troubles was running wild, but both denied any talk of divorce. At the same time, Faye made a surprising career move. After years of silence and semi-retirement, she returned to the stage for a concert tour. Fans who had waited years for her comeback filled arenas to hear her sing again. The concerts were spectacles, but her demeanor remained characteristically distant. She was not one to indulge the crowd with excessive chatter, instead letting the music speak for her. This return reignited interest in her career, but it also reignited the frenzy around her personal life. Paparazzi followed her everywhere, hoping to capture some clue about her marriage. The turning point came in 2013 when Faye and Li Yapeng officially announced their divorce. Their statement was simple and almost emotionless, reflecting the way she had always handled her personal affairs. Li Yapeng gained custody of their daughter, while Faye stepped back into her familiar position of independence. Reactions were mixed. Some sympathized with her, noting how difficult it was to maintain a marriage under such constant scrutiny. Others criticized her for failing to provide her daughter with a stable family. Li Yapeng was praised for his fatherhood, while Faye, once again, was accused of coldness. While her divorce made headlines, another storm swirled around her spiritual practices. In 2011, she wrote a post on Weibo about religious power, which was mocked by outspoken science writer Fang Zhouzi. He ridiculed her for spreading superstition, and his comments triggered a wave of online abuse aimed at her. Not long after, Wang Xikong, the outspoken son of billionaire Wang Jianlin, publicly attacked her for her Buddhist devotion, calling her unworthy of her diva status. This level of personal criticism would have crushed many celebrities, but Faye remained unshaken. She simply ignored the noise, maintaining her silence as her most effective weapon. Her lack of response only added to her enigmatic reputation. In 2013, her name surfaced again in a controversy involving Qigong master Wang Lin, a figure who cultivated connections with wealthy and famous people in China. Wang Lin was later exposed as a fraud, and photographs showing him with Faye brought her under suspicion by association. She never clarified the nature of their relationship, but the damage to her image lingered. For her critics, it was further evidence of her misplaced trust in spiritual figures. For her loyal fans, it was simply another example of the world misunderstanding her. As her second marriage came to an end, and her reputation was bruised by controversies, Faye chose to disappear once more from the spotlight. This withdrawal was typical of her pattern throughout her career. Whenever attention became too suffocating, she simply vanished, leaving both fans and media to speculate endlessly about her whereabouts. During this time, she maintained a life of understated luxury. Though she was one of the wealthiest entertainers in the region, she avoided flaunting her riches. She preferred a quiet, almost ascetic lifestyle, punctuated by occasional indulgences in designer fashion or private travel. Her wealth gave her freedom, and she used it to retreat into spaces where few could reach her. By the end of 2013, Faye Wong had lived through immense highs and deeply personal struggles. She had built a legacy as one of Asia's most powerful singers, but also as a woman who consistently chose independence over conformity. She endured the collapse of 2 marriages, relentless criticism of her beliefs, and constant invasion of her privacy. Yet, through it all, she remained untouchable in the eyes of her fans. To them, she was not just a celebrity, but a symbol of resilience and authenticity. Her story was far from over, and as the next stage of her life began, the world would once again find itself watching, waiting to see what the reclusive diva would do next. After her divorce from Li Yapeng, Faye Wong returned to her familiar rhythm of retreat and quiet re-emergence. But in 2014, she surprised the world once again when she rekindled her relationship with Hong Kong actor and singer Nicholas Tsay. The two had been romantically linked more than a decade earlier, and their reunion was one of the most talked about events in Asian entertainment. The age difference between them, along with Tsay's complicated history with actress Cecilia Chung, turned their love stories into endless fodder for tabloids. Yet despite the constant speculation, the couple chose to carry on quietly. They were photographed together occasionally, often walking side by side in simple clothes, seemingly indifferent to the frenzy around them. To fans, their reunion felt like a dramatic twist in a long-running story, a reminder that Faye's life was as unpredictable as her music. In the years that followed, she balanced privacy with select appearances that reminded the public of her star power. She performed at the CCTV New Year's Gala, one of the most prestigious televised events in China, delivering performances that proved her voice had lost none of its magic. These moments were rare, but they reinforced her status as an icon who did not need constant exposure to remain relevant. Her scarcity became part of her allure. Younger generations who had not grown up with her music discovered her through these performances, keeping her name alive in a fast-moving industry where stars often fade within a few years. While her relationship with Nicholas Tsay fascinated the press, Faye made significant moves regarding her wealth and family. Reports revealed that she and Tsay had transferred hundreds of millions of dollars worth of assets to their children, ensuring that both her daughter, Leah Doe, already carving out a career as a singer, and her younger daughter, Lila, would be financially secure. This decision reflected her awareness of legacy. Rather than flaunt her luxury lifestyle, she directed her wealth toward her family's future. It was a gesture that echoed her lifelong preference for substance over show, even as critics occasionally accused her of living a life too detached from ordinary people. Despite her attempts to live quietly, controversies never stayed far behind. Her Buddhist faith continued to bring criticism from skeptics. When she was photographed at religious gatherings, particularly those involving the Dalai Lama and members of the Tibetan government in exile, the Chinese authorities issued warnings, reminding her that such associations were politically sensitive. Once again, Faye did not explain herself. She neither denied nor defended her actions, allowing silence to serve as her shield. This response, or lack of one, frustrated commentators but deepened the myth around her. Fans saw her as someone who could not be controlled by governments, critics, or public opinion. Her ex-husband Li Yapeng also became a source of unwanted attention. In 2024, he staged a live streaming event where he and his new wife appeared alongside a virtual duet featuring Faye. The performance was clearly designed to attract views by leveraging her name, and netizens immediately accused him of exploiting her fame. Many defended Faye, arguing that she had no control over how others used her image and reputation. The incident sparked heated debate about how much privacy a public figure could expect after decades in the spotlight. Through it all, Faye remained silent, as she always had, refusing to give her critics or supporters more fuel. As she moved into her 50s, Faye Wong occupied a rare position in the entertainment world. She no longer released albums regularly, nor did she tour as she once did. Yet, her influence was undeniable. Her daughter Leah became a musician in her own right, carrying forward the family's artistic legacy, though constantly compared to her mother. Fans saw this as proof that Faye's impact was not only cultural, but also generational. At the same time, her younger daughter Lila, who grew up largely out of the public eye, became a symbol of her commitment to family life away from the camera. Her lifestyle remained understated but luxurious. She was known to wear designer clothing and live in high-end residences, yet she rarely flaunted her possessions. Unlike many celebrities who broadcast their wealth through social media, Faye seemed almost indifferent to proving herself in that way. Her power lay in her ability to remain relevant without playing the usual celebrity game. This attitude earned her both admiration and criticism. Some saw her as an artist who had transcended fame, while others considered her detached to the point of arrogance. Even with the controversies, she maintained a devoted following that stretched across China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and beyond. Younger fans who had not witnessed her early career still looked up to her as a symbol of authenticity. In a world where pop idols often felt manufactured, Faye stood apart as someone who had never compromised her individuality. She did not chase trends, nor did she bend to public demand. That refusal to conform, which once seemed cold, had over time turned into a rare kind of power. As the years passed, Faye Wong evolved into more than just a singer or actress. She became a cultural figure whose story blended music, love, spirituality, and scandal into a narrative that fascinated millions. She endured broken marriages, public scorn, and relentless scrutiny. Yet, she held on to her independence and mystique. Her choices, whether admired or criticized, consistently reminded the world that she would never live by anyone else's rules. And as she continued her quiet life alongside Nicholas Tse, occasionally stepping back into the limelight, she remained one of the few stars who managed to transform mystery into lasting influence. Faye Wong remains an icon who defies easy definition. She has been called cold, distant, and superstitious, yet she continues to inspire devotion unmatched in the Chinese-speaking world. From record-breaking success to turbulent relationships and public criticism, she has always chosen silence and individuality over conformity. Her life shows the cost of being truly independent in an industry built on control. Whether adored or attacked, she endures as a legend, not just for her music, but for her unshakable refusal to play by the rules. For more stories behind Asia's most fascinating stars, don't forget to subscribe to Criminal Tracks.